Okay, so this is an extra revision video on the immune system. There is a lot of information to learn with the immune system. Once you feel like your understanding is quite strong, I think it's really useful to be able to connect all that information together. So this is why I made this video. I want you to really connect that information and to understand how everything interlinks. So there are 3 tasks for you. Describe phagocytosis, cellular immunity, and humoral immunity. And the important thing is, I want you to be able to describe the links between each of those processes. So let's start with phagocytosis. So you should recognize or know that phagocytosis is a part of the non-specific immune system. And so what I'll do is I'll start with the diagrams of the processes you should be aware of, and then I'll give you the text answers for what you should be able to write down for each of those stages. Okay, so now I'll give you how you should describe those in writing. So the important thing is, as always, you're using keywords and concepts. So I've highlighted or put in bold some of the words that are really important that you are using. So at this final stage, we get to an antigen presenting cell. So let's go on to cellular immunity. So the reason it's called cellular immunity is that it involves the T cell response. And what you'll notice is that T cells bind to cells. That's the way they're activated and they carry out their process, hence why it's called cellular immunity. You should recognize that this is part of the specific immune system. And so I'll go through the diagrams of the processes again, and then I'll provide the text that you should have written. Okay, so you should notice that the antigen presenting cell is the cell from the non-specific immune system, that phagocyte that had taken up the pathogen, hydrolyzed it, and then presented the antigen on its surface. So there's the connection between the non-specific immune system and the specific immune system. So here's the rest of the descriptions that you need. So you notice that I've called them C1, C2. So obviously I'm using the C to refer to cellular immunity. And in the previous slide, I referred to P1, P2, and so on. And that was because of obviously phagocytosis. So really important that you remember those 4 things that happen to those helper T cells that are produced by mitosis from that activation. So let's continue with this cellular immunity with activation of cytotoxic T cells. So we continue with cellular immunity. Obviously, this is still the specific immune system. So this is relating to cytotoxic T cells. So let's take a look at the diagrams for this. Okay, and the text that goes with this that you should have is this. Okay, so remember that this cytotoxic T cell has been activated by the helper T cell that was activated by binding to the antigen presenting cell. So now let's move on to look at humoral immunity. So now we move on to humoral immunity. And so anytime humoral immunity is mentioned, that's relating to B cells and antibodies. Again, this is part of the specific immune system. So I'll take you through the diagrams and then I'll provide you with the text you should have written. Okay, so now the descriptions you should be provided to this diagram. You'll notice that I've called them H1, H2. Obviously that relates to humoral immunity. So again, make sure you've used those keywords in bold. And that is the end of describing those three stages. The important thing, as I said, is that you can see the links between those processes, so phagocytosis, cellular immunity, and humoral immunity. So I've got one more task for you if you'd like to try that. So here I've got a diagram of all those stages. I encourage you to be able to draw this out yourself as well. I think that's really helpful if you can draw the stages. I think that helps with remembering it. So this added task is for you to provide the text for all of those stages and to make the connection between the non-specific and specific immune system. So I will take you to the answers next. So here we are. This is the text that we went through in the other slides, but this is what you should be able to do by the end. You should be able to connect all those things together and understand each process that is taking place in both the non-specific and specific immune system, and obviously relating to phagocytosis, cellular immunity, and humoral immunity.